He believes that when celebrities go public with their fertility issues, it helps other people, psychologically. Women need to understand that it's a normal part of reproduction. I personally knew those statistics, too, but that didn't mean I was prepared to become one. When I went for my 12-week pregnancy checkup at the doctor's office more than 15 years ago, he looked at the ultrasound screen and said the words that I hadn't even considered were a possibility. "I'm very sorry." Loading none of that felt normal. My husband and I were flabbergasted, shocked. I had struggled to get pregnant, and so had spent the previous months in a state of constant elation. It would be years until I successfully conceived, and for a long time, I didn't just feel sorrow, but also extreme bitterness. Why did it seem like every other woman in the world got to experience motherhood except for me? Back then, I would have welcomed Candace Warner's quote in the Weekly, as she said, "I felt like I had let us down, that my body had let us down. To feel less alone would have been comforting." As it was, I told only family and a few close friends. I didn't tell work, filing a story a day after undergoing a dilatation and curettage, But times are changing. Gwyneth Paltrow, Nicole Kidman, Beyoncé and Mariah Carey have all spoken about losing a pregnancy. M. Rusciano is one of several celebrities to have talked publicly about her miscarriage. Photo, James Brickwood. Earlier this week, comedian and radio host M. Rusciano published an Instagram post to mark the one-year anniversary of losing her pregnancy at 13 weeks. She named her unborn son Ray, and wrote, "Not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about him. I can't help but think about how old he'd be and what he'd look like." Other famous women have been similarly open. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull's wife, Lucy Turnbull, revealed she had 2 miscarriages. The Project co-host Lisa Wilkinson wrote about miscarrying twice in her 40s. "After having 3 children, nothing prepared me for the sadness to come, and frankly, it haunts me still," she wrote last year. Model Megan Gale miscarried between the births of her 2 children, prompting her to see the importance of being sensitive when discussing pregnancy and pregnancy loss with others. Megan Gale suffered a miscarriage between the births of her 2 children. Photo, John Woodstra. "Anything surrounding your conception as a woman is extremely intimate and it needs to be handled delicately," she told InStyle magazine. "I couldn't agree more. For years after my own miscarriage, I would pounce on people who innocently asked, 'So when will you start a family?' They'd usually be, unfairly, greeted with a 5-minute diatribe on how A, that was an invasive question that was hurtful to me, B, they shouldn't presume I was postponing motherhood in favor of building my career, and C, they better not tell me I should just relax and you'll get pregnant," if they were thinking seriously about keeping our conversation in the non-shouting range. Noting you remember the relief when, years later, I read Mia Friedman's memoir, Mamma Mia, in which she devoted several chapters to the trauma of losing her unborn daughter at 19 weeks. One of her comments struck a chord, and still does. "As painful and uncomfortable as it often is to have a conversation about our baby's death, it is infinitely preferable to silence." For M. Rusciano, posting a photo of a necklace charm with 3 names on it, her daughters Marcella and Odette, and the son she lost, Ray, was not just about marking a personal milestone, but realizing the importance of having that difficult conversation so that others might benefit. "I publicly shared my experience of miscarriage because at the time, I felt so isolated. I found out that 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage, and yet the fact that it's hardly spoken about was only compounding the loneliness I felt. I spoke out so other women would know they aren't alone." After I spoke about my loss online, I had thousands of women share their stories with me. We essentially formed a community. That group provided strength and company. It is such a personal loss. It hits so hard, but if you are able to share that experience, you can let some light into the dark places.